Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us today for this seminar, this webinar that we're going to do on creating a career map that leads to your dream job. And we're going to be spending a little bit of time first talking more about using some of the many career quizzes and personality and assessments, your work style assessments and things. But then we'll get into really more how that feeds into creating a career map that leads to the job that you really want long term, your dream job and such. So I'm Jodi Hammer, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight. So just as I said here, this is combining really two sessions: the career tests to identify your dream job, and then creating the career map that helps you get to your dream job. So what are career assessments, first of all? And I have the definition a definition of many ways to define, career assessments, but one of the ways is tools that are designed to help individuals understand how a variety of personal attributes, right? So it may be your own values, your own skills, motivations, aptitudes, all of those kinds of things, how those impact your potential success and satisfaction in different career options. So, not every career is for every type of person, right? I think we all know that already. There are certain careers that, we may think that we would excel at, and others that we have absolutely no interest in, based on maybe our preferences and, things like that, or our skill sets and comfort level. I would absolutely hate being a software, like computer techie software engineer. That is just so not my tool set. And, so I know that would not be a good fit for me. Right. But, and there are others who may know, like there are certain things that you absolutely wouldn't want to do, but a lot of times it's hard to know what we do want to, what we should pursue. And sometimes it's that there's so many options, right, that it becomes overwhelming. So career assessments can help with that. So here, just, sometimes you get into, your job search, and you get a job and you're in it, but then you're feeling like stagnant. You're feeling, gosh, it's time to change, all of that. And, the truth of the matter is that change is normal, because in today's day and age, it is not it's not typical for somebody to stay in one career or one job, one career, right, for their entire life. Most people bounce around a bit, some more than others. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. So ultimately, it comes down to trying to find a job where you can do something where it's pursuing your passion or something of great interest to you, right? And that in a job is like a recipe for success, because finding what you're passionate about, what kinds of jobs exist in that, and finding where that comes together, that can be really pretty powerful to find. So career tests and profiles and such, they can definitely provide clarity, right, and help people, but are they 100% accurate? Absolutely not. When you take some of these, profiles, tests and such, and it comes out and it generates a list of things, careers you might be good at, and you might see on there one that absolutely is not of interest, and you might instantly think, well, this is not accurate, and throw away the entire, validity of the test, right? But you need to look, you just definitely let those ones that don't fit go, but look at some of the other ones that might be there that you haven't thought about, because many times these are generated from, for example, if you love the outdoors, and you don't want a, traditional office job where you're sitting at a desk and, whatever, taking notes for 8 hours a day. But you'd rather be outside and all of that. You might, one of the careers that might come up sometimes in certain ones of these, these profiles. I know we used to use one and with Peace Corps, and when I was at headquarters, and sometimes something would come up and they're like, well, I don't want to be a sanitary engineer, a garbage collector, whatever. Nothing wrong with that job. I have a huge amount of respect for that job, actually, and what it takes to like do it and be able to. I have a very, very sensitive smell issue, so I definitely wouldn't be able to do it. But it's really these are they're designed to help you, steer you in maybe a new direction where you might be able to explore it. Whatever the results from any of these career profiles and the strong Campbell interest inventory, any of these that we're going to chat about really briefly, is you need to then look at, explore those kinds of careers and see, why might it have said that? And okay, what might you like about it, or is it something that you would like? So this slide is just talking about some of the benefits, right? It can definitely give you insight. If I don't know about you, but most people at some point in their lives, they come to a point, and sometimes it's actually college, where they're like, I don't know what to major in, or they get out and they work for a few years and they're like, I don't want to do this, but I don't know what I want. And so it can be helpful in identifying the types of jobs that you would be a good fit for, because obviously if you're a better fit, you're probably going to be happier about it. So and then encouraging areas for reflection, skills development. If you're looking at, these are some of the areas that I could get better at, and that could help me. And that could make you excited then about, the future and such. But the cautions that I always want to put there, many of these, the assessments you're doing, they're one-dimensional. They're like self-assessments. So you are assessing yourself on A, B, and C. So you've got to realize that sometimes, they may not be, the results may not be entirely accurate, maybe because of it's difficult for you. Maybe you answered how you would want to be, or what you think is the right answer, or what you wish you were, and you weren't totally truthful in it, in which case then it's going to only be as valid as the input. But they're not all like scientifically, where like there's science, I think, behind most of them, and theories of psychological theories and things, but it's not it's not a total act of science when you're going through it as well, right? So those are things to really really consider, and they're only really your preferences is one factor into how much you'd like a job, right? Certain things that you want to do or skill sets that you use, but there are many other factors to factor into your job choice, including things like flexibility. Maybe it's working from home, or maybe it's family life balance, or other things that are important to you, that all health insurance, all those kinds of things that also weigh in. So there's 4 different types of career tests that are oftentimes that are used, right? There's like the personality test, the more interest inventories, your skills assessments, right? And your values. And again, those are all pretty much all self-select. So a couple of the different examples here, I just have a graphic that shows some of them. Strong Campbell interest inventory is the strong one that's showing here, which can be a good one. And that's a variation really of the Myers-Briggs, and which is shown as well. The Myers-Briggs, there are some free options to that are maybe not quite exactly what it is there, but they lead to that same 4-letter, and we'll go through this in a little bit here really briefly, that can help you identify what you might like. And the DISC is another one. And then Strengths Finders, you may have heard of. That's one that comes with a book. So if you buy the book, you get the ability to take the assessment free. And a lot of organizations were using Strength Finders. And it comes out with what are your skills, like your top 2 like skills and things like that. So as well, one of the areas that you can find information, Department of Labor, their Career One Stop, which is what they use for folks who are between jobs, folks who are unemployed and looking for a job. They have a lot of assessments there that through there that you can actually access. I just have a screenshot here for you to see. But checking out some of those too, your work values and things like that. And you can also check out more about careers. So once you're thinking about, I might want to do this, and we'll talk about the mapping process and what's involved in the process. And part of that is identifying jobs that are on the way that. So the DISC career assessment is one that it identifies 4 primary emotions, right? So there's 4 quadrants here. So there's the DISC, so it shows you here, you have the dominant, you have the inspiring, the supportive is the S, and the conscientious is the C. So DISC is what it stands for. But these are the kinds of skills and the kinds of that you have the first three things that are, listed there in this one. And there's a lot of other ways to say this, but in this graphic, they did it with the C, like the same words. So conscientious, calculating, competent, cautious, inspiring, the influencing, interactive, imaginative, right? But then they also talk about the needs, like for you to be happy, to feel fulfilled, or to do your best. You, like an I, for example, they need affirmation, and popularity is important. So like what people think of them, right? Recognition, those kinds of things. With the D, it's more respect, choices, and control, right? They want control of maybe their work environment or their, how they do things, that kind of stuff. The supportive, is more, the needs are more, security and approval, appreciation. So these are all, and then finally the C one, right? They really need more. They want, to perform all of that. So that can be helpful. That's just a variation of oh, my internet connection's unstable. I hope I'm not going to go off here, but bear with me if I do. Let's go on to the next one, which is the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Take just a moment to look at this one. As you'll see, this is really kind of the one of the like forefathers of, it's really one of the beginning ones, right? The MBTI stands for Myers-Briggs type indicator, and it was developed by a woman, Isabel Briggs, and then her daughter. And it's based on the Carl Jung. You may recognize that name. And there's what you end up getting from it is there's 4 dimensions, right? There's 4 categories, if you will, right? And then there's 16 personality types. So just very quickly, you have the energy, right? Where you either have, introversion or extroversion. It doesn't mean that you're an introvert, right? It's how you get your energy. So do you get your recharge of your energy by being alone or in very small groups, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you're shy, right? Or do you get your energy from being with other people? I am very much of the extrovert. And so I get my energy from being with others and being surrounded. And the introvert folks would find that exhausting. So it's just where you get your energy from. And then the next one, the information, how you process, information. Is it, intuition, right? And do you focus on possibilities and, kind of that big picture? These are the ends, right? The intuition. So just kind of focus on the big picture versus the sensing, the realists, right? They had their 5 senses. They determine how things should be, and concrete facts. So it's all about facts, details, how you go about that, right? And then you have the organization. You have you have the T or the F, the decisions, right? So your thinkers are very logical, using, facts and what they, like all of that, right? And fairness and all of those kinds of things, right? And so they're very level-headed versus your feelers are much more based decisions on personal values, and they take into consideration how the impact on other people, because they're all about like other people and helping and that kind of thing, right? So they're empathetic and warm is how they're characterized oftentimes. And then lastly, how with organization, right? How do you proceed? The J, the judgers, doesn't mean judgmental. A lot of people are like worried. They're like, oh, I'm a J. That I don't want to be a J. That's judgmental. No, it's you like rules, deadlines. You you prefer to have things, clearly detailed. You want you want the steps. You want, you're the person who's going to make your 5-year, plan generally, or you're in your own finances, have your budget, those kinds of things, right? And structure. It's they like that. Whereas the perceivers are much more spontaneous, and they like to be flexible, and, seeing deadlines more, as negotiable, and they like to just improvise as they go. And so that's kind of the overall. Okay. And you'll see this when we get to the very easy, the shortest personality quiz, which are tests that I'm going to show you right here, right? So you can do this if you didn't already in the MBTI one right there that I showed you, the 4 quadrants. When I show you these 4 slides, you can very easily look at the lists and decide the one that seems to be more you. Now, chances are you're going to be in between. Some from each are going to probably describe you. So you kind of go, what one do you lean more toward? Which one has more, that you tend to be a little bit more? So So there's only 4 questions, right? How you get your energy, how do you see the world and gather information, how do you make decisions, and how much do you like to plan ahead? So this one is, so question 1, how do you get your energy, right? So extroverts, just look at it for a moment there. Generally sociable, focused on the outer world. I mean, does that describe you? Does that does that make sense for you? Talks a lot, starts conversations, might speak before they think sometimes, right? Quick to take action. Might have a lot of friends and many interests and things like that going on, right? And the introverts are generally quieter, right? And focused on oftentimes the inner world or inner, things that they like to do that are, things like reading and time alone and, taking walks on their own and, all of that. So, fewer and deeper, maybe fewer, deep, and then really, but very deep friendships. So just jot down whatever letter seemed to describe you more when you looked at those. And then the second question: how do you see the world and gather information? Likewise, like we said here with the sensors, right? They really rely on their senses. So it's focusing on the present, what's real, what's right in front of them, right? Practical, absolutely, and prefer to do things the established way, right? Versus the intuitive, the ends of the world. It's definitely more, that big picture, like I said, abstract, dreaming, designing, looking at, possibilities, creative, imaginative. So write down the one that you think describes you more there. And this is all from personalityclub.com. It's a one that they put together that I think is nice. This one is the third one. How do you make your decisions? Like we said, the thinkers, right? Using your head, very logical, very, just everybody gets fair and equal treatment, more scientific, all of that. And then there's the feelers of the world that are definitely use more of their heart, right? And their decisions are based on values and interested in how people will be affected and their emotions, and they, and they treat people, differently according to the situation, being, compassionate maybe, and, when many might not be. So those are a couple of things. So just write down your T or F. And then the fourth question: how do you like to plan ahead? And the judgers, the J, are much more organized, right? They want to plan. They want to keep the plan. It's, controlling their life, that kind of thing. Finalize. They don't like the hanging ends. They like to finalize, get it all set, done with, right? Whereas the perceivers are oftentimes generally more like relaxed and casual, kind of go with the flow, change, adapt quickly. I think almost every RPCV has proven that. So regardless if you're a J or a P, you definitely can adapt quickly. You've proven your ability to do that with Peace Corps. And then, just kind of, taking that life will happen, and, and they might want more information. So that's the 4 there. If you wrote down those, then you kind of have an idea of what your Myers-Briggs might be, or you could take another test to, see if it confirms that. But you can do a little bit of research online and find more about, like, careers for ENFPs, for those who scored in this. There's a whole career, there will be a lot of information that comes out on the kinds of careers that might be really successful. People might be really successful at if they are that and such. So now we're going to go on and we're going to really talk more about we are going to get now into more of the career mapping and such. And so I do want to say, though, for people who are still uncertain as to what they want to do, because I'm not assuming that you absolutely know what you want to do and you just want to figure out the career map to get there. So, how to find a career path is this graphic, which I think is a pretty good one. Just looking at the possibilities, right, that are out there, right? Not necessarily factoring in those things like, yeah, but it doesn't pay well, or it doesn't do this. Just looking at what are the kinds of jobs in all the world that are out there that pique my interest, because sometimes that might give you insight into the kinds of, right, like jobs or responsibilities that you would like. It doesn't necessarily limit you to just that one job, right? So definitely looking at that when you're, and then thinking about too, like, what would you enjoy? I mean, obviously you want to do something that you enjoy. And so what type of work environment are you looking for? One where it's very team focused or it's very individual focused? Are you really social? Do you want to work in like an environment where you get to work with a team and or whatever, right? And also in that, it's looking at what are the things that you really don't want to do for sure, like whether it's financial budgeting, or if that's just boring to you and you really don't want to do it at all, well, then that's important to know as well. So, and then in this graphic, in this, when they discuss, the step 3, right? Figuring out what you enjoy and try something in that vicinity, right? The reason I like this one, when you look at the end here, like, from your research, there's a lot of research that's involved. We're going to talk about that as well, right? And how you can do career chats and things like that to gain more information as well about certain, careers. But you start it, and if it doesn't work out, well, then start again, change. And I have a whole slide on like, sideways changes, or even, sometimes maybe going and starting all over again, right? Because you are not feeling fulfilled in that and you want to do something different. Your interests, all of that change as you go on, right? So, and we'll also talk about that a little bit here as well. So now it's really focused now on creating that career path that leads to your dream job. So I want to define for you a little bit career path versus career plan, right? So your career path is basically like a roadmap, right? For your personal and professional development. So it's going to include along the way a series of maybe jobs, job titles, right? That's going to lead you to your dream job, because generally your dream job, well, sometimes it is within your reach immediately, but other times it might take some additional skills or training to get there, to be able to be competitive, right? So there might be some steps along the way. And that's really career path when you're talking about that roadmap for your development and such. And then your career plan, so path versus plan. Your plan can be more defined oftentimes as like a list of, short and long term goals that you're going to accomplish, you're going to undertake and hopefully accomplish along as you move, in order to move you along your career path, right? So it might involve, for example, maybe your long-term, aspiration is, to become, a foreign service officer, right? So, or things like that. So you might be looking at, okay, so what are the things I'm going to need to take the foreign service exam for that, unless you go through they do have one version where you don't go through the foreign service exam. It's more specialty ones that are things like, your management, office management, administrative management, security, and a couple of the other tracks that you don't take. But in general, for a foreign service officer position, you're going to take the foreign service exam. So it's something that you're going to have to put within, that's going to be a goal within your career path, is going to be passing that. So studying for it, right? Taking the test and passing it to move on, if that makes sense. But they move you toward your end goal, right? Toward whatever your eventual goal is. And a couple of the benefits of career mapping, right, are, it guides you in the right direction, kind of keeps your eye on the prize. If you have this, like literally, like, and I mean, drawing it out, maybe making it colorful. And so you really have this touchstone to kind of look at, right? Not just having it in your mind. So it can help you kind of keep your eye on the prize and know, okay, I'm moving in the direction that I want. I'm moving, toward, what I want, that kind of thing. It can help you keep focused on your next steps as well, right? And the skills development that you need to do in order to move beyond whatever that, stage is, right? And
Jodi,
it helps you kind of generate
Jodi,
exciting. Oh,
you
did it cut off?
Yes, sorry.
Completely?
Yeah.
Sorry. When did it cut off? When I got to this slide?
Yeah, just a little bit into the first bullet. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just repeat the second and third bullet here, and maybe we can cut that out. So great. So the benefits of career mapping, the guiding you in the direction, keeping your eye on the prize of your long-term goal, but it also helps you keep focused on the next steps and the skills that you need to work on and develop in order to get to that long-term goal, right? That dream job that you're working toward. And it also can help generate excitement, keep you energized when you might be in a job that's not the most, maybe one of your jobs along the path are not the most exciting ones, but you're remembering that you are gaining skills in grant writing or whatever it is that's going to help you get to that next step. Say your long-term goal is a contractor with USAID, or whatnot. So that can help a lot. And then your path never set in stone. It's always adaptable. So don't worry about if you run into what you see as a dead end. You can always turn and go another way, right? You can always back up if nothing else and look at, other options, right? So, as the saying goes, what is it? Nothing is for certain except, anyone know that one? I think it's death and taxes. Not to be. Is that right, Emily?
Yeah, I said it when you said it.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, you cut out a little bit there. And your career map, it often, you can have a well mapped out path, and then it might end up being circuitous in many ways. It might wind for, and oftentimes there might be unexpected twists or complications that come in, right? I'm thinking of things like external to you, like aging parents in the Midwest requiring you to move back or whatever, right? There might be things like that do complicate things, but just realize that it's okay, and that it's this kind of movable, malleable type of topic, right? And the other thing is, new revelations may drastically change your path. You could have yourself set up and have everything you do your research, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here, and you get to the, you're getting toward that, and then you lose steam in it, you lose the passion for it. It's like, what? Or maybe you gained more insight into what it really would be like, and you're like, that's just not me. I don't think I want to do that anymore. It's okay. You can turn back, you can recraft and come up with another one. And that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning of the session. In our day and age today, you're changing I heard a stat actually not long ago, and it was the average person has over 12 jobs. This is after you start, if you went to college or whatever, you start in the field, but you have many different careers. So don't feel locked in, is I guess the point with that one. And then I really like this graphic. I was telling you that I pulled this from Tallow and really some of the content. I really like how they put it out there. But I think this is a really important slide because the different career moves that you have, right? So if you're in a job, right, and you're looking at, okay, so what's next for me, right? You're either moving forward, right, and you're advancing in the direction of, your, maybe your dream job, or, getting, promotions, pay increases. Maybe you're in your dream job already, right? You're moving forward, and that's great. That's one of the career directions or moves. Some may at times find it necessary to take a sideways move and switch maybe to a position that is at the same level maybe, but it's maybe in the same company that would get you in line for what you want long term. Maybe your passions have shifted and you're now more interested in the HIV/AIDS health aspect versus the child nutrition or something like that, right? So it's not going up or down. It's just it's a lateral move is what we call that, right? And it could be outside. Maybe you're like, what? I am not wanting to do this anymore. I'm going to try to step sideways, get a job in a different sector and go from there. And that's maybe not a step down or up, just kind of a lateral move. Okay. So, and the third one, and I think this one's really important, taking a step down in, it's the backwards move, right? And I have people come to me a lot with this one and say, gosh, I'm really passionate about this job opportunity I have, but it's a step down. it's less pay, it's, whatever, right? And they're really struggling with that, rightfully so, because we've all worked hard, right, to move up and through the system and get promotions, get raises, things like that. It's not as common to say, I'm going to take a pay cut to do that, but sometimes it is the best move you can make. And I want to give you an example. When you are in a position, say you find yourself in a position where you're making a good salary, right? You have great health benefits, all of that, but you're just inside, it's not feeding your soul. That might be an example of a time it makes sense to move back. And I can tell you an example. This is from personal experience. I've done this, and many people I know have done this. I was in a job where I had, job security, I had great benefits, I had all of that. And I actually liked the company. I really liked the people I worked with. It was just the content, like what I was working in was, it was a financial organization and insurance institution. And it's a great organization. I really liked this one, and they were quality and all of that, but I just was not feeling fulfilled. And I struggled with that, but I made the decision, you know what? I need to back up. I need to get out of this and do, something and go into something else that I find more rewarding. Because for me, what I've learned, one of the things is that, money is important, certainly, to pay the bills and all of that. But do I have to earn the most money, possible? Absolutely not. I am like queen thrift shopper. I don't even shop in regular stores. I mean, I don't need a lot. So for me, I have the ability to maybe, step back and say, okay, I still want to be comfortable, so that I'm not worried about the rent every month, that kind of thing. But I certainly don't need to earn this amount of money. And it was the best decision I made. It got me back into really doing more of the training and development, and then the careers. And I've been doing this for 16 plus years and love the career aspect, working with, RPCVs, helping them with their job searches, doing, mock interviews, those kinds of things. I mean, that's what I find fun. So just don't be afraid to do that. It can end up being really good for your career and your personal, because your personal happiness is, I think, one of the most important things in your career. So let's talk about how to create a career map. Okay. So much like a roadmap, right? You when you're doing a trip, maybe we planned a trip back to the Midwest this summer, and we put the pins in. Okay, these are the things that we want to stop that we, along the way, kind of like that. With a career map, you're more looking at, okay, creating your map, looking at, okay, what is it, if right, that I want to do long-term? What is my long-term aspiration at this point in my life? And that's the end dot, or, that's the end, you can write that, whatever that is at the end, right? And then you need to look at, what are the steps I need? Like, what are the kinds of jobs I'm going to need to have before or along the way? What are the kinds of jobs that are going to give me the skills and expertise I need for that long-term dream job, right? So once you decide on what that dream job looks like, and you look at then, okay, so what are the skills that are required for that job, that are absolutely essential and or preferred, right? And then looking at, okay, so where do people who I know or I know of who are this position, right? What was their career trajectory? And and this is the great thing nowadays, you can look on LinkedIn and you can find what is their career trajectory. You can look at, oh, interesting. So this person, maybe your goal is to, create a nonprofit of your own that focuses on whatever your passion area is, right? So along the way, some of your other, so obviously that job is going to, creating one, you're going to have to be the kind of person who is good with, right, budgeting, or, pulling together a team, and, mapping and making a plan, and, selling people on the idea, because you're going to need money, right? Seed money to make that happen. So those kinds of skills with that long-term, with that dream job are really important. And then you look at, okay, so what kinds of jobs, like people who've started started an NGO successfully themselves, what has their experience looked like? Where did they come from? Did they start in working in an NGO? gaining experience of how it works and all of that? Did they then go on and do some, grant writing and whatever, because that's an important part if you're starting your own? You kind of develop those kinds of skills. And then when you look at the people and what their career trajectory is, you kind of can figure out those pinpoints, those goals along the way, right? Your career, and your career map or your career path, right, is there. And then what's the career plan, those short-term objectives, those goals along the way to meet what you want to do, right? And you're going to get a ton of information by doing career chats. Oh, huge apologies, excuse me. I didn't see the spell check on the career there. So sorry about that. I usually have them right. But so doing, researching and doing, career chats with people who are doing that now and asking them, what is the best place? Like, what are the skills that I'm going to need to really do this successfully? And how can I gain those? And what do you think is the most important aspect of running your own business? Getting all those kinds of information from them, and what kinds of trainings would have been helpful, and all of that you can then chart along your way, your career plan. You can have those short-term, those goals that you're trying to get, okay, along the way, all of which steer toward getting you more qualified for that ultimate dream job, okay? So it's networking is so important. And you can find on LinkedIn, you can really find so many people to network with. And especially when you enlist that Peace Corps RPCVs, right? And if you, do a search and you use the advanced search tool and you put in former employer and you put in Peace Corps and choose the official Peace Corps map, the logo, and then current employer or sector or whatever it is, you fill in. And then you see who has, and you're going to see who comes up, and then you can reach out to them, and you can definitely ask them for, you can ask to connect with them, right? If they're an RPCV, you might approach it as, you have limited characters, so when you do your connection request, you could say, hey, hi, I'm a fellow RPCV having served in Ecuador, would love to connect with you professionally, or something like that. That's it. It's pretty short. When they reply, that's when you can go into the, thanks so much for connecting with me. Really appreciate it. As mentioned, I'm an RPCV from Ecuador, currently exploring opportunities in the XYZ sector. And as such, I'm looking to connect with people who've worked in the field, who might have insight, based on their own experience, wondering if you might have 15-20 minutes of your time at your convenience to chat about your own experience and any tips or advice you might have. I mean, that's a really easy ask then, right? And most people will do that. I mean, some people aren't checking their, LinkedIn maybe as often sometimes, but other times they're, you'll find some, you definitely will. The other thing that I want to bring up on this slide, and then I promise we are going to wrap this up because we are just after 9 here, and is with the networking we are doing. If any of you know Dr. Rhonda Anstead, who's a consultant with NPCA, and she's a career coach, and she and I do a lot of things together. We've done boot camps in the past. We're actually co-facilitating a boot camp on networking. So it is everything. We're calling it a master class. So we're going to start, it's a 4-part series, such as has been the case with our other boot camps and stuff. But this one's going to everything from why is it important? How do you do it? What are the nuts and bolts? What are some tips and tricks on how to get people to connect with you more? And, and how do you turn that into a prospect with, a job, or, another person may lead to, an interview, things like that. So I think it's going to be really good. It's comprehensive. It starts on November 7th, and
Jodi,
you can actually get information on that. If
You're really badly cutting out.
go to our events page. Am I breaking up? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to stop my camera. Sorry, I had it on. Great. Is that better?
For right now, yes.
Okay, great. So I was just talking about really networking and how important that is. And we do have a networking master course, master class that we're offering in November. It's going to be on Tuesday evenings from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, so DC time. And that's this year, of course, for those who are watching this live, and those who are watching the recording, it's 2021. We will be doing that 4-part series, and it's going to be really comprehensive. We're going to be talking about why you need to network, what it is, how you do it effectively. And then we're going to be giving you lots of tips and tricks on how to make the most of your networking and how to do so without having how to gain the benefits of the paid membership free, like not having to do, doing a lot of searches without having to pay the large monthly fee for the premium account within LinkedIn. So if you're interested in that, check out our events page, which is peacecorpsconnect.org/events. And you'll see it listed on November 2nd, and then 9th, it will be on as well. So you can definitely register for that. We'd love to have you in that as well. It should be really fun. And Rhonda's great, who is helping lead that one. So great. And then be flexible to change, because honestly, we all change, right? Our desires, our interests change, and, it might not, go exactly as planned. And you think, well, I think I want to do something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I just want to show you, to end here, a career path example that Talo had used, which I think is a good one here. It's an education one, right? So in this case, you see that the dream job is to become a principal, right, in an educational context. So maybe the starting point in this person's bachelor's degree in teaching, right? Now, and then, the milestones, you see the milestones that are written, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Become certified as a teacher, right? Now, one of the milestones that we might substitute in for, or add to this for an educator who's looking to do education afterwards is, go to Peace Corps. And, where chances are you're going to teach something, even if you're not a teacher in the school, you're going to be teaching in the community and training and all of those things. And, it's really funny. Many people go to Peace Corps. They're not a teacher, but they go to Peace Corps and they do teaching in a classroom or whatnot. And they come back and they say, I actually want to do this. And they might change their career accordingly, which is fine too. In this example, you see for the right here, the milestone 2, working for 3 years while attending conferences and trainings. That's really that area where I was talking about how you can take trainings, get more qualified in it, doing that certification courses, conferences on the side, right? And then, at some point you might decide to earn your master's, right? If you want to be a principal, you're going to have your master's. Generally, I think that's almost always the case. So earning a master's degree in teaching, and then that, determining where that is, that kind of thing. And then, your next one might be, getting promoted to assistant principal. If you've had the experience in the classroom, then, looking at, that's a logical way to move up. Sometimes people go from being a teacher to principal, but generally, I think you generally go through the vice principal first, right? Or assistant principal, however they call it. And then, working in that for a couple of years and then getting promoted either in your school or in another school. There's a whole, right? There's a whole, many different areas that you can work in. There's many opportunities for being principal. So I hope that makes it clear in terms of like how, what we mean by, coming up with, okay, your sector education, your dream job, principal, right? And then that, what the starting point is, and then kind of those milestones or pinpoints along the way, right? Those mini goals, those not necessarily mini, but those goals, because master's degree is not a mini, it's definitely a maxi goal. So, working toward that. And then, and really so much of it comes down to, talking to people who are in those positions, seeing what they like most, what the biggest challenge is, so that you can kind of plan accordingly and take actions to maybe avoid those, or to know that, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to be okay with that. So at this point, I want to just open it up. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take any questions. And if you have any are there any questions in the chat box, Hannah? I don't think I've seen any, but.
There are none.
Okay. If anyone does have any questions, Emily, if you have any, or Nikki, definitely let us know.
None come to mind right now, Jodi, but thank you. Great presentation.
Great. Well, thank you for coming, and let me know if you have any questions as well. I'm always happy to happy to answer questions and work one-on-one with people too if you need. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Nikki, take care too. All right. Thanks, Hannah.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Oh, Nikki, did you have something you were going to say? Sorry.
No, I said thank you.
Okay.
Have a
Thank you,
good
Nikki.
night.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
All
take care.
right. Bye-bye.